You are not here by accident, and this is not the moment to play small. This is the exact second you decide that doubt no longer gets a vote in your life and belief takes the microphone. I want you to breathe with me for a beat and feel the weight of your own story pressing on your chest, because inside that pressure is the diamond you keep pretending you haven't earned yet. Maybe they told you to be realistic, to set your expectations lower, to stop building castles in the sky. Maybe they smiled politely while they filed you into a safe little box labeled ordinary. But there's a reason you're watching this, a reason your heart keeps tapping on the inside of your ribs like it wants out. The reason is simple. You were not born for doubt. You were born for belief. Not belief as a cliche or a motivational poster, but belief as a daily practice, a muscle fiber that tears and rebuilds stronger every time you show up for yourself. Belief as a decision you make before results arrive, a decision that says, I will move the mountain, and if it refuses to move, I'll climb it. And if I slip, I will climb again. Because you and I both know this truth. Doubts are loud only when you're quiet about your purpose. So let's turn up the volume. Imagine waking tomorrow with no voice of, what if I fail, only the voice of, what if I fly? Imagine opening your eyes and deciding that the day already belongs to you because your effort is non-negotiable. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. Confidence isn't thinking you're better than everyone else. It's knowing your lane and sprinting like the race was designed for your stride. This is where we begin, not in the land of perfect plans, but in the dirt where you tie your shoes and take the first step. Belief is step one. Belief is step every. And belief looks like this. You honor your promise to yourself, especially when nobody is watching. You set a simple target and hit it. Then you raise the bar. Then you raise it again. Some people pray for lightning. You light the candle and keep walking. Doubt is allergic to motion. It thrives in stillness, feeds on hesitation, and grows in the shadow of your unused potential. But the moment you move, one phone call, one page written, one rep, one reach out, one uncomfortable conversation, doubt starts shrinking like darkness under a steady sunrise. I know you've got a highlight reel of your mistakes looping in your mind. I know because I do too. That memory of the time you lost, the opportunity you mishandled, the room you thought you didn't belong in, none of that means your name isn't on the door tomorrow. Those were rehearsals, and belief reframes every rehearsal as preparation. The world loves to measure you by outcomes. Belief measures you by commitments. Are you committed to learning? Are you committed to showing up? Are you committed to becoming the person who can handle what you're asking for? Answer yes, and watch the universe rearrange furniture to make space for your arrival. Not magically, not instantly, but predictably, because consistent belief births consistent behavior, and consistent behavior compounds. You won't notice the first day or the fifth, but one morning you'll catch your reflection doing something your old self would have quit on, and you'll smile because you'll realize that belief didn't just change your results, it changed your identity. You become someone who does the hard thing because that's who you are. Let's talk about voices. The ones outside and the one inside. People will project their limits onto you like it's community service. They'll tell you what's impossible because it would be impossible for them without the courage you're cultivating. Smile at them. They're narrators in your movie, not the protagonist. The real battle is the voice inside that whispers, not yet, not you, not enough. That voice has a favorite word, later. Later kills more dreams than failure ever did. Belief says now, not because conditions are perfect, but because you are present. You choose now because you understand momentum is a magician. It multiplies what you feed it. Feed it action, it gives you progress. Feed it doubt, it gives you paralysis. So feed it action, start where you are with what you have. Don't wait for courage to show up fully dressed. Meet it in your pajamas at 5 a.m. and courage wakes up groggy. Bring it coffee. Bring it your to-do list. Bring it your imperfect, unstoppable self. Maybe you're thinking, but I've tried before. Good, try again, but this time take your identity with you. Before, you might have been trying as a guest in your own life. This time, you walk in like a homeowner with keys. You're not hoping to be worthy, you're training like you already are. When you operate from belief, your standards rise quietly. You treat your time as a precious ingredient. You trim the opinions that don't pay rent. You keep promises to your body, to your craft, to your future self. You build systems that survive your bad moods, set alarms that drag you, leave notes where you can't ignore them, automate what you can, calendar what matters. Belief isn't loud every day. Sometimes it's a whisper that says, keep going, when the room is empty and the metrics look unforgiving. But the whisper becomes an anthem when you honor it. Say yes to one more minute. Say yes to one more call. Say yes to one more page. You will be shocked how often greatness hides behind one more. Your life is a series of rooms you haven't opened yet. Doubt stands in the hallway rehearsing worst-case scenarios. Belief turns the knob. Inside, you'll find skills you didn't know you owned waiting in the corners like friends at a surprise party. Resilience sitting on the couch. Focus leaning on the counter. Patience stirring the pot. They were invited by your consistent effort. They show up once they know you're serious. And when they arrive, everything changes. You feel it in the way you breathe during pressure, in the way you pivot when plans fall apart. You stop begging certainty for permission. You start building enough skill that uncertainty becomes part of the thrill, not the reason to quit. You become a scientist of your own potential, running experiments, failing forward, logging the data, and iterating. Doubt hates scientists because scientists don't take failure personally, they take it as information. I can't promise the road will be comfortable. I can promise it will be worth the discomfort. Doubt wants you to equate discomfort with danger. Belief knows discomfort is tuition. You pay with sweat, with patience, with time, with humility, and the degree you earn is called competence. Competence makes confidence inevitable. When you can do the thing, your brain relaxes. It doesn't need everyone's approval anymore because results are loud even when you're quiet. So practice until competence is your resting state. Practice until you're dangerous in your domain. Practice until your hands remember what your head forgets under pressure. The world notices that. Doors notice competence. Opportunities notice competence. And when the knock comes, you won't be scrambling to become the person. You'll already be the person opening the door and saying, I've been expecting you. Right now, there is a version of you that has already walked through the storm you're standing in. That future you is waving from the other side, telling you the rain ends, the sun returns, and the mud on your shoes becomes a story you'll tell with pride. Believe them. They know what you're capable of because they are you, upgraded by persistence. Picture their posture, shoulders back, eyes steady, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. This is the paradox of belief. You don't get proof until you go first. You go first with your effort, your time, your courage, your focus. You place your bet on the one asset that compounds without ceiling your growth. And maybe the people around you don't see it yet. That's fine. Plants don't look like forests at the seed stage. Your responsibility is to water the seed daily. Water looks like showing up when you're bored, not just when you're excited. Water looks like keeping the promise when no one is clapping. Water looks like trading cheap dopamine for deep satisfaction, refusing to be another notification-addicted ghost in your own life. There's a rhythm to belief that you can learn. It sounds like this: define, decide, do, and debrief. Define what you want in clear language your brain can act on. Decide like a leader, not a committee. Do the next small action immediately. Speed kills hesitation. Debrief without drama. Ask what worked, what didn't, and what you'll do differently next. Repeat until the extraordinary feels normal. That loop builds a life. It turns dreams into projects and projects into proof. Doubt can't survive inside a loop like that because it runs out of oxygen. You're too busy executing. You don't argue with your limits, you interrogate them. Where did this limit come from? Who told me this story? What evidence supports it? And then you go hunting for counter evidence by doing the thing your limit says you can't. If the limit shrinks, you keep going. If it fights back, you train more. Either way, you get better. Belief is not mystical, it's mechanical. It's the squeezed toothpaste of effort every day, the unglamorous reps that make everything else look like magic on the outside. Let's address fear, because it's the loudest roommate doubt has. Fear will tell you that if you risk, you'll be embarrassed. Belief replies, embarrassment won't kill me, but regret bites forever. Fear will say, people will judge you. Belief shrugs and says, they're already judging. I may as well give them something accurate to talk about. Fear warns, you're not ready. Belief smiles, no one is, until they are. Readiness is not a prerequisite, it's a result. You prepare as you proceed, you calibrate as you create, you refine as you rise. Most doors open from the inside, which means you don't wait for an external key. You build the handle with consistent action. Start the channel, write the chapter, launch the product, lead the team, ask for the sale, send the application, study the craft, apprenticeship before attention, mastery before marketing. Earn your stripes quietly and then let your work speak volumes. If you need permission to start, this is it. If you need a sign, you're staring at it. But I want you to grasp something deeper. You are the sign. Your existence is evidence that possibility is still on the table. Think of how many threads had to weave perfectly for you to be alive at all. The narrow odds, the fragile beginnings, The countless ancestors who fought to breathe so you could inherit lungs strong enough to carry your dreams. You do not honor them by shrinking. You honor them by standing full height. And standing full height isn't posturing or pretending to be something you're not. It's accepting the truth that you are a work in progress with a work worth doing. You'll have days you wobble. You'll have days you don't feel inspired. That's fine. Professionals don't wait for inspiration. They cultivate it. They set a time, show up, and let the muse catch them working. Some days you'll write a page of genius. Other days you'll write a page that's mostly effort. Both count. Both are bricks in the road. You're building something you can walk on when storms hit. Consistency is your umbrella. When critics appear, and they will remember this rule, never accept feedback from someone who isn't bearing weight. The heaviest lifters know the bar is unforgiving. They critique with compassion because they've been under the bar. Keyboard spectators love to shout instructions from the bleachers about a game they never played. Smile and return to practice. One useful question you can ask yourself: if this person's life were a course, would I enroll? If not, why treat their opinion like a diploma hanging on your wall? Take counsel from those who build, not those who point. Seek out mentors, books, communities, and environments that stretch you. Curate your inputs like your life depends on it, because it does. Your focus is finite. Protect it. Cut the tabs you don't need. Turn off the alerts that drag your attention into drama. Give your best hours to your best work. If that means waking earlier or reorganizing your evenings, do it. Your calendar is a mirror. If belief lives in your mouth but not in your schedule, it isn't belief yet, it's a wish. Transform it into a plan, then into a practice. One day you'll get evidence that your belief is working. A message from someone you helped, a target you hit, a skill that felt out of reach now in your grasp. Do not rush past these moments. Archive them in the museum of your mind. They're not trophies for ego, they're anchors for storms. When the wind starts to howl again and doubt tries to yank you off course, you'll walk those quiet halls and look at each exhibit: the early mornings, the lonely nights, the rejections you survived, the breakthroughs that followed. You'll remember how many times you wanted to quit and didn't. And that memory will fuel you better than any motivational speech, because it's your own voice speaking back to you from the past. That's belief's secret. Once you stack enough proof, you become your own evidence. You stop outsourcing your confidence to outcomes and start insourcing it from character. Results will ebb and flow, but character compounds in one direction forward. Look around where you're sitting right now. The chair beneath you, the screen in front of you, the roof over your head, every one of those was a thought before it was a thing. Someone believed long enough to turn an idea into atoms. Someone held their nerve when the plan wobbled, when money was tight, when voices were skeptical. They dared to say, "What if we build it anyway?" And then they did. That same energy is in you. No, not abstract possibility, practical power. The kind that shows up in spreadsheets and schedules and sweat. It's the power of choosing your next hour on purpose. If you gave the next 60 minutes to your dream, without distraction, what would move? Maybe one page of the book, one email to the investor, one lesson in the course, one lap around the block. We underestimate the compounding interest of an hour invested daily. 10 hours becomes a foundation, 100 hours becomes a skill, 1,000 hours becomes a reputation. That reputation opens doors your old self would have assumed were locked. There will be seasons where life feels like carrying a backpack of bricks up a hill in the rain. You'll be tempted to throw the pack off and decide it's not worth it. But what if the bricks are building materials you're meant to set down at the summit? What if the weight now is strengthening you for the load you'll carry later? Belief doesn't romanticize struggle, it respects it. It eyes the hill, tightens the straps, and says, "Step." It knows the mind will invent excuses dressed as logic: too late to start, too crowded, too risky, too old, too young, too busy. Every "too" is a door painted to look like a wall. Knock once with action and watch how often it opens. And yes, sometimes it won't. Sometimes you'll hear silence. That silence isn't a verdict. It's a cue to try another door, to widen the search, to refine the pitch, to sharpen the craft. Belief is persistence married to adaptability. You keep going and you keep growing at the same time. When you finally taste a win, remember victory is a checkpoint, not a finish line. Celebrate it. Thank who helped you. Then ask, what would it look like to build from here without losing myself? Success without soul is just a louder loss. Belief anchors you in purpose, so the winds of success don't blow you into the rocks of ego. You stay a student. You remember where you started. You remain kind to those climbing behind you. You share what you've learned without expecting applause, because you know generosity multiplies the impact of your belief. And on days when the scoreboard glitches and you take an L, you don't make it a life sentence. You make it a lesson plan. There's a difference between being defeated and experiencing defeat. One is identity, the other is data. Protect the difference fiercely. You are not your last outcome. Let's talk about your environment, because belief lives or dies in context. Put your phone across the room when you work. Place your workout clothes where your excuses can see them. Keep a water bottle on your desk so energy doesn't fade when focus spikes. Eat like your brain matters, because it does. Sleep like tomorrow's greatness needs tonight's recovery, because it does. Build a physical space that whispers, "We do important work here." Build a digital space that doesn't yank you into comparison every 15 minutes. Unfollow accounts that make you feel like a spectator in your own life. Follow creators who teach you how to make, not just how to consume. Schedule time with people who light you up. Limit time with people who dim you down. You're not cruel, you're careful. You're not superior, you're serious. There's a cost to every dream. You can pay it in small daily installments, or ignore the bill and pay with regret later. Choose the payments you can live with. I want you to imagine a day 6 months from now. You wake up and your routine is a rhythm, not a wrestling match. You roll out of bed and your body knows the drill because you've trained it. You sit down to work and don't need to bargain with yourself for every minute of focus. The project that felt impossible has edges now. It has bones. It has proof. You aren't wondering whether you're the kind of person who does this anymore. You are the person because you've acted like the person. That's identity-based belief. And it changes everything. You don't force effort through a locked door. You live in a house where effort is the furniture. This is not fantasy. This is the logical result of small, consistent decisions stacked over time. If you haven't started, start. If you've started, recommit. If you've recommitted, level up. Wherever you are, belief is the gear that engages next. The world needs your gifts. Not the polished version you'll have in 5 years, but the honest, messy, in-progress version you can offer today. Somebody else's breakthrough may be waiting on your imperfect beginning. Most of what transformed your life came from people who were brave enough to publish before they felt fully prepared. They shipped the album, released the app, taught the class, opened the shop. They dared to be seen trying. That's all I'm asking of you. Dare to be seen trying. Dare to be the person in the arena with dust on your face and sweat in your eyes. History does not remember the critics in the cheap seats. It remembers the builders. And builders use belief like mortar, binding each brick of action into arches strong enough for others to walk beneath. Build something that outlives this moment, a habit, a skill, a community, a story. When doubt knocks, let it watch. Let it sit in the corner as you do the work. It can observe, but it doesn't get to speak. You might wonder whether believing in yourself means ignoring reality. It doesn't. It means shaping reality with relentless clarity. You set constraints that keep you creative. You measure what matters so your mind can't lie to you when it gets tired. Track your reps, your pages, your outreach, your practice sessions, not as a whip, but as a compass. Progress loves evidence. Every tally mark is a reminder that you showed up, that you put one more brick on the road, and when the metrics aren't moving. Belief doesn't panic, it investigates. Are you solving the right problem? Are you aiming at the right audience? Are you practicing the right sub-skill? Sometimes the lever is smaller than you think. Adjust the angle a few degrees and the door opens. You learn to spot leverage by staying in the room. You cannot outthink the lessons that only appear after the 100th repetition. You must earn them, and when you do, they feel obvious, like they were waiting behind a curtain. You finally had the stamina to pull. Keep a promise journal. Write down the commitments you make to yourself each morning and check them off each evening. Start tiny and truthful. Today I will move my body for 10 minutes. Today I will write 2 paragraphs. Today I will practice scales for 15 minutes. The size matters less than the integrity. Integrity builds identity. Identity builds inevitability. When you are the kind of person who does what they say, outcomes begin to trust you. Doors open not because you're lucky, but because you're reliable. People feel it. Opportunities feel it. You become easy to recommend because your name quietly means consistency. And consistency is how average becomes excellent, and excellent becomes exceptional. Everyone wants the exceptional. Few are willing to flirt with boredom long enough to earn it. But you will, because you understand that boredom is a bridge, not a destination. You cross it with rhythm, with playlists and timers and rituals that carry you through the gray days into the golden ones. Let's rehearse how you'll respond when the next wave of doubt arrives. It will come disguised as a reasonable suggestion to slow down, to skip today, to shrink your goal. You will say, "Thank you for your concern," like you're talking to an overly cautious friend. "But I have evidence that I can do hard things." Then you'll open your journal and point to the proof. You'll look at the calendar blocks you kept even when it rained, at the messages you sent even when your hands shook, at the workouts you finished even when your legs burned. Doubt will back up a step then too, and if it still hangs around, you'll put it to work. If you're going to be here, hold the stopwatch. Count the reps. Watch me show up. Turn your fear into a witness to your resilience. Let it see you refuse to negotiate with your excuses. Let it see you turn, "I don't feel like it," into, "I'll feel like it after I start." The mind follows motion, you move, and feelings obey. The people you admire did not inherit certainty. They built it with bricks of behavior. They too had nights where they wondered if it was worth it, mornings where they wanted to stay under the covers, afternoons where they questioned whether they had any business aiming so high. But they stayed. They stayed long enough for the craft to love them back. They stayed long enough to see the compounding kick in. They stayed long enough to realize that belief is not a switch you flip once, it's a fireplace you tend daily. You add kindling when it's low, you guard it from wind, you share its warmth with others. And when it's roaring, you don't waste the heat, you use it to cook, to build, to light the way forward. That's your task now. Tend the fire, feed it with action, protect it with boundaries, share it with courage. And when you look up months from now and your world is brighter, you'll know why. You believed. You really finally fully believed and acted like it. And once you've tasted that, there's no going back. You'll still have doubts, but they'll be background noise, not the soundtrack. The soundtrack will be your footsteps, steady and unstoppable, carrying you toward the life you chose on purpose. There's a quiet kind of bravery that never makes a highlight reel, the bravery of showing up when no one is clapping and the room feels cold, and the work in front of you looks bigger than your confidence. That bravery is the spine of believing in yourself. It's the moment you decide to act without the emotional fireworks, to do the next right thing while your inner critic is still narrating worst case playlists. You don't silence that critic by arguing with it. You make it irrelevant by creating. Creation is the antidote to criticism, especially the internal kind. When your hands are moving, your doubts get fewer seats at the table, and that is what today calls for: hands moving. Because belief isn't a mood, it's a method. You set the method in motion and the mood catches up, often later than you'd like, but reliably enough to trust the process. You know this from the times you didn't want to start and then, 20 minutes in, found a current you could ride. You learn that friction is highest at the beginning and lowest in the middle. So you engineer your life to get to the middle quickly, small countdowns, simple first steps, tools laid out the night before. A ritual that tells your brain, "We're doing this." Somewhere along the line, you were taught to chase motivation like it was a lightning strike you had to wait for. But you've learned better. Motivation is a byproduct of motion. No one stumbles into discipline. They schedule it. You put belief on the calendar and it shows up in your routine the way sunrise shows up on the horizon. This is what gives you durability. You stop making today's effort dependent on yesterday's results. You put the brick down because it's time to put the brick down, not because you feel like building or because the last wall you finished got compliments. You become a builder regardless of weather. And when you live that way long enough, you stop checking the sky so often. Rain or shine, you've got work to do. The work is where you meet yourself. The work is where you turn, maybe, into muscle memory. A lot of people fear starting because they think they must get everything right on day one. You don't. You only have to make the cost of inaction higher than the cost of imperfection. You do that by remembering what inaction costs: momentum, self-respect, opportunities you can't see yet because they only reveal themselves to people who are moving. The world is full of doors you can't even notice until your feet are pointed in a direction and your steps are steady. It's as if the corridor lights up only for travelers, not for spectators. When you move, the map updates. New paths appear. New allies surface. New lessons introduce themselves politely, sometimes with a sting, sometimes with a smile. Either way, you gain intelligence you never would have collected from the couch of hesitation. That intelligence is the currency belief trades in, practical and spendable. With it, you buy better decisions, sharper priorities, wiser risks. There will be days when people misunderstand you. You'll be painted as intense when you're just committed, as lucky when you're just consistent, as selfish when you're simply protective of your focus. Let them misunderstand. You cannot live a life on purpose and be universally approved of. Those two goals live in different neighborhoods. Approval asks you to contour yourself to the curves of everyone else's comfort. Purpose asks you to stand straight. You don't have to be rude to be rooted. You can be kind and clear at the same time, and clarity is a kindness to your future self. Clarity lets you say no without regret and yes without apology. You'll find that your best yeses are not born from guilt or fear, but from alignment. Is this action aligned with who I'm becoming? If yes, go all in. If no, bow out with gratitude and move on. Still, even with clarity, there's the grind. The repetitions that taste like dry toast. This is where most people tap out, not because they lack talent, but because they misinterpret boredom as a sign they're on the wrong path. Boredom is often a sign you're on the right path. Your brain is acclimating from novelty to mastery. In that gap, build micro variety that keeps you engaged without abandoning the fundamentals. Change the setting but keep the set. Adjust the tempo but keep the reps. Move locations, tweak intervals, swap the order of tasks. Reward milestones with simple pleasures. A walk, a stretch, a song. These small adjustments act like oil in the engine, reducing friction without changing the vehicle. You'd be amazed how far you can drive with a well-lubricated routine. You might worry that believing in yourself will make you reckless. Real belief isn't reckless, it's responsible. It registers the risks and prepares for them with contingencies. You keep a cushion in your calendar for rest and repair. You keep a cushion in your budget for the uneven months. You keep a cushion in your heart for the days people aren't their best. You forgive quickly, both yourself and others, not because mistakes don't matter, but because carrying them forever will break your back. You practice recovery like it's part of the plan because it is. Sleep is not a luxury, it's a lever. Hydration isn't optional, it's performance architecture. Movement is medicine. Sunlight is a setting you should choose when you can. These are not lifestyle hashtags, they're belief support beams. Strong beams mean fewer collapses under pressure. Now think about the story you're telling yourself when you fall short. There is a version that sounds like a verdict. I failed, therefore I am a failure. Reject that script. Choose the version that sounds like a scientist. This approach failed, therefore I learned something. Scientists don't take it personally, they take notes. They adjust variables and run another trial. Belief turns you into that kind of scientist in your own life. You stop dramatizing your dips and start designing your adjustments. You move from shame to strategy. Ask better questions. What was my rate limiting factor? Was it time, skill, energy, or attention? Which bottleneck is most fixable in the next 7 days? What's the smallest unit of progress that would prove I'm improving? You might be one constraint away from a breakthrough, and you remove constraints by naming them. Yes, rest. But don't confuse rest with resignation. Rest is a pit stop. Resignation is parking the car. Use rest to return stronger, not to justify drifting. Guard your rest from guilt by giving it a job. This session is fueling tomorrow's session. The same way you protect work blocks, protect your recharge blocks. Close the door. Turn on airplane mode. Tell the world you'll be back. Belief respects boundaries because it understands that infinite inputs destroy finite humans. You are not a machine, you are a living system. Living systems need cycles. Work and recover, push and pause, expose and adapt. The more you honor your cycles, the more sustainable your climb becomes. A final truth for this moment: you are closer than you think. Doubt distorts distance, it stretches the road in your mind. But progress happens in jumps that seem sudden to outsiders and gradual to you. One day a plateau cracks and the numbers move, or the call gets returned, or the skill clicks. People will say you were an overnight success. You'll smile, knowing the night was very long and very full of work. Keep stacking those silent nights. Keep laying bricks in the dark. Dawn always finds builders. You are building a reputation with yourself right now, a track record your future relies on. Every kept promise is a deposit in that account. Every broken one is a withdrawal. The balance determines how confident you feel when you stare at a new mountain. If your account is full, you look at the climb and say, I've paid for this. If it's empty, you avoid eye contact with your own ambition. So fill it. Start with promises so small they feel almost silly, then honor them to the letter. That's how you repair trust with yourself, not with grand gestures, but with daily reliability. When you're reliable to you, other people start seeing you as reliable too. Trust spreads outward from the inside, and soon opportunities find you because they can feel you won't waste them. This is how believing in yourself quietly upgrades your environment. You draw in the kind of work that matches your standards and the kinds of people who match your pace. The room starts to fit you better because you've been tailoring your character. There's a myth that confidence arrives fully formed once you've crossed some external milestone. The reality is simpler and more generous. Confidence is the residue of evidence. You gather that evidence through repetitions in conditions you can control, so that when you step into conditions you can't, your body remembers what to do. You can't predict the crowd noise or the unexpected question or the last-minute change, but you can rehearse fundamentals until they are automatic. When the stress spikes, you fall to the level of your training, not the height of your hopes. Belief, then, is partly about respect. Respect for the craft, respect for preparation, respect for the long game. You stop obsessing over how fast you're going because you're fiercely committed to how far you'll go. Distance over speed, depth over display, durability over dopamine. That mantra tunes your mind away from comparison traps and back toward your lane. Comparison is a thief that dresses like a coach. It pretends to motivate you by pointing at someone else's timeline and saying, "Hurry up." But it forgets that timelines leak context. You don't see the years they logged in obscurity, the sacrifices they made, the talents they were born with, the luck they caught. You also don't see their trade-offs, the stress, the costs, the parts of life they delayed. So instead of matching their plot, write your own. Set metrics that measure what matters to your mission. Hours of focused practice, meaningful outreach, thoughtful iterations, recovery compliance. When you score yourself on these, your scoreboard reflects effort you control, not applause you don't. Paradoxically, when you aim at controllables, the uncontrollables often improve too. It's not magic, it's math. Consistent inputs produce more chances for favorable outputs. If you're wrestling with identity, who am I to do this? Flip the question, who am I if I don't? The cost of not trying is not zero, it's the slow erosion of self-respect. Every time you shrink from the thing that calls you, you signal to your nervous system that your desires are unsafe, that your gifts are a liability. Over time, that signal turns into a story, and that story into a stance. You start walking through life hunched over, bumping your head on ceilings that exist only in your imagination. Straighten up, let your goals be visible to your posture. Only believe in yourself doesn't mean refuse help. It means stop outsourcing your permission. Ask for mentorship, yes. Learn from the best, absolutely. But make decisions like the CEO of your fate, not the intern waiting for sign-off. CEOs seek counsel and then choose. Interns delay. Be the chooser. There's another myth that courage feels like confidence at the start. Often it feels like nausea, sway, shaking hands, dry mouth. If you feel these, congratulations, the door you're knocking on matters. Step through anyway. The body learns by doing, and the nerves settle after exposure, not before. You can treat fear like a weight room progressive overload. Start with a weight you can lift while still respecting form. Reps build capacity. Soon, what once made you tremble becomes routine. Then you add a little more load. This is why belief pairs well with patience. Impatience is trying to bench your max on the first day back. Patience is adding 5 pounds each week and never missing Monday. Guess who's stronger in 3 months? The one who survives the calendar. Let's get practical with your next stretch. Pick a single keystone habit that dramatically influences other behaviors. Maybe it's a 20-minute morning build session before touching your phone. Maybe it's a nightly review and plan. Maybe it's a non-negotiable workout block. Whatever it is, tie it to an anchor event you already do, like making coffee or brushing your teeth. That anchor makes the habit sticky. Then, to protect the habit, give it a tiny version for bad days. If the full workout is 60 minutes, the tiny version is 5 push-ups and a walk. If the full writing block is 1,000 words, the tiny version is 1 paragraph. You are not lowering your standards, you are designing for reality. The tiny version keeps the chain unbroken, and an unbroken chain is rocket fuel for identity. I don't miss is a better belief than I'm always perfect. People who don't miss beat people who are perfect sporadically. You'll need a recovery narrative for when you do miss. Because you will. Life will throw a wave and you'll tumble. The only question is how fast you stand back up. Create a 3-step reset. Acknowledge without drama. Analyze without blame. Act without delay. Acknowledge, I missed today. Analyze, here's why. Sleep debt. No plan, wrong environment. Act, tonight I'll prep my bag. Tomorrow I'll start with the tiny version. Make the reset boring on purpose. Drama makes misses sticky. Boredom makes them washable. Wash the day, hang it up, wear a clean one tomorrow. As you compound, opportunities will scale. Responsibility scales with them. Remember the principle that got you here, belief backed by behavior. Keep that ratio healthy. If spotlight time increases, so must practice time. If revenue grows, so must generosity. If influence expands, so must humility. You don't have to pretend you're not proud of progress. Be proud and present. Just don't forget to be useful. Make your wins win for others too. Teach what you learn while it's fresh enough to be honest. Tell the truth about the awkward middle, not just the polished end. That truth is medicine for someone a few steps behind, and speaking it keeps you grounded. The best kind of self-belief becomes community belief, a rising tide of people who see what's possible because you showed them your working notes, not just your trophy shelf. And when the day closes, put your head on the pillow like a craftsman who left the shop tidy. You don't need fireworks to feel fulfilled. You need a handful of kept promises, a body that's been moved, a mind that's been stretched, and a heart that's been both focused and kind. That's a good day. Stack enough good days and the extraordinary stops looking like a miracle and starts looking like math. That's when you realize the slogan was true all along, no doubt. Only believe in yourself. Not as a catchy line on a poster, but as a lived equation that keeps producing answers you can stand on. There's a moment on every climb where the trail narrows and the drop looks bigger than your footing feels, and that's the moment belief earns its keep. You don't look for a helicopter, you look for your next foothold. This is where all the small agreements you've kept with yourself matter more than any speech. The promise journal, the keystone habit, the resets after a miss. This is why you practiced. Because life eventually demands that you cash the checks you've been writing in private. When the wind rises, you test your knots. When the noise grows, you test your focus. And when the doubt circles, you test your voice, not the loud one that tries to impress a room, but the quiet one that tells the truth in your chest. It says, I did the work. It says I can carry this. It says even if I slip, I know how to climb again. That voice is the compass you build by showing up, and once you own it, no one can repossess it. Believing in yourself is not the arrogance of assuming outcomes. It's the humility of assuming responsibility. You live with your hands on the levers you can reach and your eyes open to the levers you can't. You learn to tell the difference. Responsibility without control is a path to burnout. Control without responsibility is a path to entitlement. Balance them like a craftsperson balances tools. A chisel in one hand and sandpaper in the other, you shape and smooth your life one edge at a time. Sometimes you carve big strokes, moving to a new city, changing careers, choosing a partner, starting a company. Sometimes you sand quietly, fixing your sleep, tightening your budget, refining your morning. The big strokes get applause, the sanding holds the structure together. You'll feel tempted to chase only the moments that impress. Resist that urge. Belief attaches itself to the smallest consistent behaviors because they are the most honest. They don't need a stage to matter. There will be invitations that look shiny and taste hollow. You'll recognize them because they ask you to trade your center for a spotlight. A spotlight can warm you or burn you depending on how close you stand. Stay a step back. Keep the heat on your work, not your ego. If the world insists on watching, let it watch you practice. Let it see you revise, restart, rehearse. Mistakes done in integrity are more instructive than polished pretenses, and people who are building their own courage are magnetized by your candor. Your future collaborators will find you through your honesty long before they find you through your polish. That's how tribes form around purpose. You don't audition for them, you attract them by doing the real work in public without pretending it's effortless. On the days when your energy dips, borrow power from your purpose by reconnecting to the why beneath the work. Not a slogan, a scene. Picture one person your work will serve. See their face, hear their problem, imagine the moment your effort turns a light on for them. Put that scene in your mental pocket and carry it into the hours that feel heavier than usual. Purpose is a lever that multiplies strength when the bar won't budge. Then pair that lever with a question that cuts through fog. What would the bravest version of me do with the next 10 minutes? Not tomorrow, not next year, 10 minutes. The bravest you often chooses something surprisingly small and concrete. Open the document, send the message, lace the shoes, press record, press publish. 10 minutes rarely changes your life in public, but it frequently changes your direction in private, and direction is destiny. Over time, you will be tempted to outrun insecurity by speeding up. Sometimes speed helps, sometimes it's a flight response in disguise. Instead of sprinting blindly, widen your awareness. Scan your system the way a pilot scans a cockpit. Fuel, am I rested enough to push, or do I need a shorter loop? Instruments, do my metrics match reality, or am I guessing? Whether are external conditions noisy, and if so, how do I simplify? Destination, is the next waypoint clear? You don't need to be perfect, you need to be honest. Honesty preserves energy by eliminating drama. Drama is expensive. It rents space in your head that should be devoted to creation. Every time you reduce drama through clarity, you buy back attention. Attention is the currency of belief. Spend it where it multiplies. As your competence rises, your old fears will throw new costumes over the same stories. You're not ready will evolve into you're too visible to risk. No one cares will evolve and cares. What if everyone cares too much and you can't keep up? Recognize the pattern. Fear doesn't retire. It hires better stylists. Your counter remains the same: evidence, exposure, and empathy. Evidence is your archive of promises kept. Exposure is doing the reps in slightly louder rooms so your nervous system learns the difference between danger and visibility. Empathy is the grace you grant yourself for being human while you level up. You are not a robot. You are a person expanding capacity. Speak to yourself like you would to a teammate you admire. Direct, not demeaning. Firm, not cruel. Celebrate progress without inflating ego and correct errors without puncturing identity. You've come this far and the path behind you already proves something essential. Belief is not a switch you flip, but a current you learn to swim with, even when the river gets rough. There is a temptation at this stage to coast, to say, I've changed enough, and set your life to cruise control. But you know cruise control isn't creation, it's just drifting at a comfortable speed. Creation still asks for your fingerprints every day. It asks for presence, not perfection. It asks for your eyes on the horizon and your hands on the wheel. The road will still throw curves. Some days you'll feel the old doubt creeping up with a new vocabulary, more subtle, more sophisticated. It will try to negotiate for little compromises: skip this, delay that, soften here, blur there. But you've learned to hear the music under the words. Doubt always hums the melody of later. Belief sings now in a voice you recognize as your own. So today again you say now and you move. Think about how many small decisions built the stronger you're living with right now. Not just the dramatic moments, but the hidden ones, the timer you started when your mind wanted to scroll. The workout you finished at 80% energy. The message you sent even though your hands weren't sure. The apology you offered without defensiveness because integrity mattered more than image. These are the stitches holding your new identity together. Keep sewing. Reinforce the seams when they stretch. Growth isn't fragile, but it is handmade, and handmade things stay beautiful when the maker keeps caring. When fatigue whispers that caring is optional, remember indifference is not rest. Indifference is a slow leak. You don't have to sprint every day, just don't let the tires go flat. Pump the air. Do the tiny version. Keep the chain unbroken. The chain is your secret architecture. You might feel pressure now to prove yourself in bigger rooms, to scale your ambition faster than your capacity. Scaling is good, rushing is expensive. The difference is rhythm. Rushing ignores rhythm, scaling dances with it. Rhythm listens to feedback, your body's signals, your calendar's honesty, your craft's response. Rhythm knows when to push, when to pull back, when to hold, and when to switch drills. If you practice rhythm, you can go far without breaking. You can carry more without losing the music in what you do. That music is why you started. Don't let louder speakers drown out the melody. Protect the studio where the songs are written, the quiet, focused hours where your best ideas trust you enough to visit. In those hours, treat belief like a workstation. Set the tools out, clear the bench, turn the phone away, and build something that makes you respect yourself when you stand up. Keep checking your compass with the simplest question in the world's A. Does this choice make me bigger or smaller on the inside? Bigger feels like expanded breath, clearer posture, cleaner language, calmer yeses and firmer nos. Smaller feels like shrinking in your own chair, like wordy justifications, like trading long-term meaning for short-term applause. Bigger isn't louder, it's truer. Choose bigger, even if it means declining shiny invitations that don't fit your season. The invitations that matter will align with your purpose and your pace. You've learned to earn the right to go fast by first learning how to go long. Longevity makes speed sustainable. Speed without longevity is just a sprint toward a cliff. There's a practice I want you to adopt for the next stretch: the after-action replay. At the end of the day, sit with 3 minutes of honest review. Not a courtroom, no prosecution, no defense. Just a replay. What did I promise? What did I do? What did I learn? What will I do differently tomorrow? If you struggled, identify the smallest change that would have made progress easier. A different time, a clearer first step, a better environment, a shorter session, a prepared tool. Then put that change into the calendar like it's a meeting with your future. If you succeeded, identify the ingredient that made it work. Energy, environment, a mentor's advice, a shorter scope, and double it. Progress compounds faster when you compound the causes of progress, not just the results. The replay keeps your growth loop alive without drama, and drama is the mud that slows every runner on this road. Expect your ambitions to evolve as your capacity does. Don't mourn the goals you outgrow. They were scaffolding, not ceilings. Thank them and climb higher. What used to scare you will one day feel like warm up. What used to exhaust you will become Tuesday. When that happens, resist the comfortable lie that mastery means effort should disappear. Mastery means effort becomes elegant. It doesn't vanish, it refines. The violinist still presses strings, the pressure is just precise. The builder still lifts beams, the leverage is just smarter. You'll still sweat, you'll just sweat less messily. That elegance arrives when your systems mature. Keep maturing them. Automate friction. Template decisions, batch low-value tasks, delegate what no longer grows you. Not because you're above the basics, but because your energy belongs where only you can make the difference. As you grow, your words will carry more weight for others. Be careful with that weight. Don't turn advice into armor for your ego. Offer it like water, clean, available, grateful if it helps and unoffended if it's declined. Speak from scars more than from open wounds, and when you're still bleeding, say so. "I'm in the middle of this lesson" is a stronger sentence than pretending you've already graduated. People learn trust from your transparency and courage from your trajectory. If they ask you for a shortcut, give them a map and a warning. There are no shortcuts, only clearer routes and better shoes. Sell shoes, not fantasies. You will sleep better and they will walk farther. Keep your relationship with risk healthy. Risk is not a villain, it is a teacher whose class you must attend if you want to learn anything interesting. But you choose your courses wisely. Calculate your downside, cushion it, then commit. The commit part scares people because it feels like a trap. It's not a trap, it's a bridge. Commitment focuses your resources. When you're half in, your brain hoards energy, second guesses everything, and manufactures alternative timelines that steal momentum. When you're in, you see options you couldn't see before because your attention stops wandering and starts working. You can still pivot while committed, you just pivot with purpose. That's what professionals do, they adjust without abandoning themselves. Let's talk about joy, because a belief journey without joy becomes a martyrdom, and martyrs don't build long-term. Joy is not a reward, it's a renewable resource you cultivate by noticing the aliveness in the work itself. Joy is in the click of a well-turned sentence, the weight of a clean rep, the ping of a sent pitch, the clarity of a tough conversation handled well, the moment you feel your capacity stretch instead of snap. Don't postpone joy for milestones. Fold it into your methods. Celebrate micro wins with micro rituals. A walk outside, a song you love, 2 minutes of stillness, a message to a friend. We're moving. These tiny celebrations are not frivolous, they are maintenance. They keep the engine willing to start again tomorrow. If you've carried a wound from the past, a teacher who belittled you, a partner who doubted you, a season that broke more than it built, bring that wound into the light of the progress you've made. Don't erase the memory, reframe the meaning. You are not succeeding to spite them. You are succeeding to serve the person you promised to become. Spite runs out. Service scales. When your reason is service, to your future self, to your family, to your craft, to your community, you can work through weather that would make a smaller reason quit. Service gives suffering somewhere to go. It turns pain into purpose, confusion into curiosity, and setbacks into stories that help somebody else move forward sooner. When you hit friction with people you care about, practice the kind of listening you wish someone had practiced with you when you were learning how to believe. Listen for the fear beneath their words. Ask what they're protecting. Acknowledge it. Then state your direction calmly and clearly. I love you. I hear you. Here's where I'm going and why. If they can't walk with you, keep a piece of the road for them anyway. Leave room for reconciliation. A strong belief doesn't require burning bridges, it requires building better ones. Sometimes the better bridge is distance. Sometimes it's boundaries. Sometimes it's simply time. Let time do what time does. When you keep doing what you do, prove things. Your body keeps score, so keep paying it well. Stress is a bill, movement and breath are payment. When pressure spikes, give your nervous system a 2-minute favor. Inhale slowly, exhale longer. Let your shoulders drop, unclench your jaw, open your hands, place your feet flat on the ground, and let your eyes focus on a single steady point. This costs nothing and returns clarity with interest. Clarity makes better decisions, and better decisions turn into better days. The more complex your external world becomes, the simpler your internal tools should be. A breath, a page, a walk, a glass of water, a short nap, a quiet yes, a necessary no. These are not cute tips. They are levers for a high-functioning human. When the next big opportunity arrives, and it will, because you are behaving like someone opportunities can trust, remember your policies. You've written them in your actions. We say yes to work that stretches skill and aligns with values. We say no to work that bloats ego and drains soul. We price our time in line with our standards. We keep our word or we renegotiate before we break it. We treat people like partners, not props. We recover as seriously as we push. We teach as we learn. We start small immediately. We finish what we start unless finishing would violate what we stand for. Policies like these remove decision fatigue. They let you move with quiet confidence, and quiet confidence is one of the rarest, most powerful energies in any room. And finally, remember the real scoreboard you're playing on. It isn't just money or followers or titles or trophies. It's the person you're becoming while you pursue what matters. It's the relationships that get stronger because you chose presence over performance. It's the craft that deepens because you kept the apprentice alive inside the expert. It's the nights you sleep clean because you didn't cheat the process. It's the mornings you wake with a sense of earned possibility. If you can stack those mornings, you're winning at a game most people don't even know they're playing. You have already proven you can do hard things. Now prove you can do them with grace. Prove you can carry weight without hardening your heart. Prove you can be relentless without becoming ruthless. That combination is rare. That combination is leadership. That combination is the legacy your belief is writing through you. So take the next hour and aim it like an arrow. Pick the single action that would make the rest of the day more honest. Do it with your full attention, even if it's only 10 minutes long. Then pick the next arrow. Then the next hours become momentum. Momentum becomes proof. Proof becomes identity. Identity becomes destiny. And somewhere along that sequence, you'll look up and realize that no doubt, only believe in yourself is no longer a phrase you recite. It's the way your footsteps sound on the road you chose, steady and sure, carrying you forward into the kind of life you used to only watch and now, finally, you live. The road is quieter now, not because the world has softened, but because you have strengthened. You can hear your own footsteps, steady and certain, and you recognize them as the rhythm of a person who kept showing up when it didn't make sense to anyone but the future. There's a respect that grows in you at this stage. A respect for time, for the people who cheered you on, for the lessons that only arrived after the 100th repetition, for the version of you who took that first awkward step and didn't turn back. You realize none of this was an accident and none of it was magic. It was the compounding of ordinary days done with uncommon honesty. It was 1,000 tiny decisions to keep the promise, to keep the pace, to keep the faith. And because of that, your voice has changed. It's calmer. It doesn't need to shout because it knows what it can carry. So here we are at the edge of this chapter with a horizon that invites rather than intimidates. You can feel the old doubts still pacing at the fence line, but they've lost authority. They're artifacts of a life that doesn't fit anymore, like clothes you outgrew without noticing until one day you tried them on and laughed. You aren't laughing at who you were, you're grateful. That version of you did the heavy lifting of beginning. They moved forward without guarantees. They endured the clumsy stage where everything felt bigger than your ability and only belief made the math work. You honor them every time you show up refined, every time you translate courage into competence and competence into contribution. That's the real arc, becoming useful without losing the spark that got you moving. If there is any final shift to make, it is this. Treat every goal not as a finish line, but as a transfer of energy. You gathered momentum, you built capacity, and now you send it outward into your craft so it sings, into your relationships so they flourish, into your community so it rises. The beauty of believing in yourself is that it frees up so much mental oxygen you can finally believe in others without scarcity. You stop guarding your light like it's fragile glass and start using it like a sunrise, steady, reliable, something people can set their clocks by. You mentor when asked, you model when watched, and you remain a student whether or not anyone is looking. That is how you stay fresh. That is how you keep the river running even as it widens. You also carry a new humility, the grounded kind that knows skill comes from showing up and that luck visits those who built porches for it to land on. You've built your porch. You've swept it often. You've left the light on. When opportunities knock now, you don't panic. You smile, open the door, and invite them into a house arranged by principle. We do hard things with a full heart. We move fast without breaking what matters. We learn out loud. We rest on purpose. We keep our word. These aren't slogans on the wall, they're scuffs on the floor, marks of use, evidence that this is a lived-in life. People can feel it when they step inside. They relax because integrity has a temperature and you've made the room warm. Before we close, look back once more with clear eyes. See the early mornings that didn't trend, the late nights that didn't post, the small wins you celebrated privately, the setbacks that tried to rename you but failed. See the hours you refused to trade for distraction, the conversations you handled with care, the boundaries you set and kept, the habits that survived your bad mood, the courage you practiced like a scale until your hands knew the song better than your doubts did. That's your archive now. That's your evidence. It will carry you when the next mountain rises, and it will. Mountains are not punishments, they're invitations. Each one reveals a new version of your strength. You'll climb again because you know the feel of rope in your hands and grit in your teeth, and the clean air that greets you when you step onto a ridge you once could only point at. And if fear returns with a different mask, you've got a plan. You'll shrink the problem to the next 10 minutes and work. You'll unlock the door with a tiny version of the habit and work. You'll breathe, reset, and work. Not frantic, not performative, honest work, the kind that lets you sleep like a craftsman who left the shop better than he found it. The truth is, the world doesn't need a superhuman. It needs a human who is consistent. It needs you, not the fantasy of you. There's more power in your ordinary hour than in a month of pretending. Keep giving yourself that hour. Keep giving it your full attention. Keep letting it build the scaffolding for dreams that used to make you whisper. Speak them at full volume now. Your voice has earned the room. There will be new companions on the road. People who see in your story the permission they've been waiting for. Don't tell them it's easy. Tell them it's possible. Tell them it starts smaller than they think and takes longer than they want and pays better than they imagine. Tell them the currency is not applause but alignment, not fame but fulfillment, not clout but character. Then show them your calendar, the tracks where your belief lives, in time blocks and training logs and quiet hours that no one claps for. That's how you multiply the good, by making it visible and doable, by letting others borrow your courage until they build their own. You didn't come this far to hoard what you learned. You came this far to turn your climb into a map. If you've been waiting for a sign to begin the next thing, consider this your green light. Start humbly and immediately. Put one clear action on your day, right now, while the music of this moment is still in your ears. Send the message. Outline the chapter. Schedule the meeting. Lace the shoes. Record the draft. Whatever the first brick is, set it. Momentum doesn't argue, it answers. And when resistance wakes up tomorrow, because it always does, greet it like an old rival you now respect. Smile, nod, and go to work. You know each other too well for theatrics. You also know who wins when the day ends and the tally is taken. It's not the loudest feeling that wins. It's the quietest follow-through. As you step forward, hold fast to the sentence that carried us through this whole journey. Let it move from the screen into your breath, from your breath into your bones, from your bones into your behavior. Let it decide how you walk into rooms and how you walk out of them, how you speak to yourself when you're alone, and how you speak to others when you're in front of a crowd, how you handle the days that go your way and the days that refuse to. Let it be the policy you fall back on when you're tired and the anthem that rises when you're strong. No doubt, only believe in yourself. Believe in the disciplined, durable, generous, joyful version of you that shows up on ordinary days and builds extraordinary outcomes. Believe in your capacity to start again without shame, to rest without quitting, to change without losing your core, to win without losing your soul. And now the ending note, simple and true, you are ready. Not because certainty arrived, but because courage did. Not because the path got easy, but because you chose it with open eyes. Not because the world promised you anything, but because you promised yourself everything you could control: effort, integrity, focus, and heart. Take this promise into tomorrow. Guard it, grow it. Give it away in your work so others feel braver in your presence. When you wake, don't wait for permission. You've already given it. When you stumble, don't wait for rescue. You've already trained for recovery. When you succeed, don't wait to be someone else. Be even more yourself. That is the win that lasts. So close this chapter with your chin level and your shoulders open, and step into the next with the quiet confidence of a builder who knows the blueprint and trusts the bricks. No doubt, only believe in yourself, and I'll meet you at the next summit you decide to make real. There's a seasonal nature to growth that belief respects. Spring is for planting ideas, efforts, relationships. Summer is for tending, watering the routine, weeding distractions, protecting what's fragile. Autumn is for harvest, Collecting results, consolidating wins, sharing the bounty. Winter is for sharpening, resting deeply, studying, rebuilding systems. If you try to harvest in winter, you'll grow resentful. If you refuse to plant in spring, you'll starve. Ask what season you're in and act accordingly. The season doesn't exempt you from effort, it explains the kind of effort that's wise. There's relief in aligning with your season. You stop yelling at the ground for not producing strawberries while snow still dusts the soil. You put your hands to the right task at the right time and trust the calendar of compounding. Guard your language. Words plant beliefs like seeds, and you harvest whatever you rehearse. Replace "I'm overwhelmed" with "I'm prioritizing." Replace "I'm stuck" with "I'm between attempts." Replace "I'm behind" with "I'm on my path." This isn't denial, it's direction. Your nervous system listens to verbs. It moves toward action stated clearly. When you say, "I'm learning how to," the mind starts looking for what to try next. When you say, "I can't," the mind politely shuts down and waits for someone else to drive. You are the driver. Choose language that keeps the engine on. The people closest to you will either be wind at your back or weight on your ankles. The hard part is that some weights wear friendly faces and some winds give tough love. Belief requires discernment. Who challenges you to your best without making you feel small? Who drains your spark while pretending to keep you safe? You don't need to make a scene, you need to make a boundary. You can love someone and limit their access to your focus. You can respect someone and reject their narrative. You can be generous and still be selective. If someone consistently confuses your growth with betrayal, they may love your comfort more than your calling. Thank them for their care and keep walking. The horizon won't meet you halfway, you must meet it. A powerful shift happens when you stop asking whether you're worthy of the dream and start asking whether the dream is worthy of you. Some goals are too small for your soul. They're comfortable but costly. They keep you busy without making you alive. Belief gets courageous about scale, not because bigger is always better, but because congruent is always truer. The right dream stretches you in the directions that make you wiser, kinder, stronger, and more useful. It makes you more yourself. You will know you've chosen well when the pursuit improves your character, even on days the scoreboard refuses to. You'll know you're close when the difficulties feel meaningful rather than arbitrary. Hard is inevitable. Meaningful hard is a privilege. Let gratitude be the oil that keeps your engine from seizing. Not the performative kind that posts a list once a year, but the practice kind that notices the unspectacular mercies, a clear mind after a good night's sleep, a text from a friend who believes in you, a paragraph that finally clicks, a sunrise that resets your mood. Gratitude doesn't lower your standards, it anchors them in reality. It reminds you that you're not building from zero, you're building from plenty. Even when money is tight or metrics are slow, there is plenty woven into your day if you look for it. That perspective lubricates grit. People who can see the good can carry more weight without growing bitter. And bitterness is corrosive to belief. It eats ambition from the inside out. Gratitude is the antidote. Apply daily. Keep teaching as you learn. Teaching is not a pedestal, it is a mirror. When you explain a skill to someone a few steps behind, you discover where your own understanding is soft. You reinforce fundamentals. You sharpen language. And you remember the dignity of being a beginner, which protects you from the cynicism that can creep in with success. Cynicism is just disappointed hope that never healed. Let your classrooms, formal or informal, be clinics where hope rehabilitates. Show your process, not only your results. Admit the revisions, the drafts, the attempts that didn't make the cut. Students will trust your victories because you've introduced them to your failures. And in teaching, you multiply your belief. A belief shared becomes a belief strengthened, because now you're accountable to your own lesson. When fatigue whispers that you've done enough, check whether it's true fatigue or bored fatigue. True fatigue needs rest. Bored fatigue needs a new edge. Add a twist that keeps the skill alive. If you're running, test negative splits. If you're writing, try a tighter constraint or a longer scene. If you're building product, interview a user you've never met. If you're selling, change the first question in your discovery call. These micro edges reawaken curiosity without detonating your system. Curiosity is the friend that introduces you to rooms you didn't know you needed. Follow it, but don't let it drag you away from your compounding. You're not changing destinations, just changing angles. There will be a day, maybe soon, maybe months from now, when the thing you've been working on meets its moment. The email lands in the right inbox. The clip goes viral. The investor says yes. The hiring manager calls back. The tournament bracket breaks your way. Here's the test. Will you become a person you don't recognize at the first taste of momentum? Or will you become more of the person you trained to be? Smile, breathe, and return to your rituals. Success doesn't make rituals obsolete, it makes them essential. Rituals keep your feet on the ground while your name floats around rooms you aren't in yet. They keep your nervous system from sprinting into burnout. They also remind you that your worth did not inflate with your metrics, so it won't deflate when they wobble. Metrics move, meaning holds. Before you sleep tonight, do something old school and human. Put a hand on your heart and tell yourself one sentence you would have needed a year ago. You're allowed to try big things and learn out loud. Say it like a vow. Then back it up tomorrow with one honest hour. If you can give yourself one honest hour consistently, the math is in your favor. Because an honest hour multiplies, it improves the next hour and recruits 2 more. It buys courage on credit that you repay with competence. It turns a week into a stair, a month into a landing, a year into a floor you can build the next level on. And each level changes your view. You'll look back at the terrain you crossed and see a path that didn't exist before you walked it. No doubt. Only believe in yourself isn't a shield that blocks difficulty. It's a stance that meets difficulty with dignity. It's a way of walking that makes rooms brighter for others while you pursue what sets your soul on fire. Keep that stance. Keep that walk. Keep choosing the next foothold with quiet courage until the trail widens and you realize the narrowest part is behind you and the view makes sense of the climb. Then, without fanfare, take another step.